There are many tasks that need to be accomplished by Windows 10 and by us routinely. The Task Scheduler is the tool for the job. I'm sure you're not surprised. This is a hands-on lab, so if you want to follow along with me step by step, just launch the hands-on lab from the main course page. Let's take a look at the Task Scheduler. Probably the easiest way to get there is to just search on Schedule in Cortana, and there's the Task Scheduler. This is an MMC, and it's got the Task Scheduler library snap-in installed. Notice, like any MMC, we have this pane, then the contents, and then these quick actions. If you go to the library, you'll see there's a Microsoft library for Windows of scheduled tasks, and it's amazing how much task scheduling is going on. Now, one of the ones that we mentioned in another nugget was on restore points. We said that Microsoft would create restore points for us automatically. How does it do that? It does it with the system restore scheduled task. And there is that scheduled task. Look at that. Now, this is interesting because we don't have system restore enabled on this system. So this thing's just going to sit here and never run. But you get the idea. If we enable system restore, it will create regular system protection points using this task. Let's look at another one. In fact, let's manipulate its settings. Down here, we have Windows Defender. Now, look at this. Windows Defender is going to have 4 tasks that are associated with it. There's Defender Cleanup, there's Verification, and it's so cool because we learn so much about how Windows 10 operates with the Task Scheduler because we didn't even know necessarily that this kind of stuff was happening with Windows Defender. It's stuff that happens behind the scenes. But one of the things that we know happens is a scheduled scan. Microsoft tells us we will run this periodically for you, and they don't really give us much information on that. Now, we may want this to run frequently. In fact, I decided just now I want it to run weekly. I'd love it to run like on Saturday night, super late when I'm in bed. Well, no problem. We're going to go in and manipulate the properties that we can view here of that task. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to Properties. Inside the Properties window, notice we have a General tab, and one of the important things here is how will this task run? What security credentials will be used to run this task, and does it have the highest level of privileges? What we're interested in manipulating is the triggers, though. We don't want the registry controlling, we don't want Windows itself controlling when the scan is done. We want to put our own trigger in. So we say new, and I say weekly, Saturday, make sure it's nice and late. I might be up at 5 in the morning, who knows? So let's make this like 3 in the morning, or nearly there we go. 3, close to 3 in the morning. You get the idea. We'll run this every Saturday, super late. And then under the advanced settings, we can say, look, stop it if it runs longer than 3 days. As a matter of fact, let's be honest. We want it to stop if it's running for more than 2 hours. We're not going to have this task expire, and we want it enabled. So lots of great settings to choose from in here. Under Actions, it's actually going to be running the executable with the appropriate switches to get the scan done. Under Conditions, we could say that the computer needs to be idle. Of course, mine will be at that time, so no problem there. I want this to only run if we're on AC power. Cool. Wake the computer to run this. Start only if the following network connections available. So great settings here, and even more settings under Settings, like allowing us to run it on demand, running it as soon as possible if we missed a scheduled start. This is a repeat of what we saw earlier, stopping the task if it runs longer than a certain amount. Our more aggressive setting will override this one, so we can just uncheck this. So you get the idea. Lots of great settings. You don't need to memorize these settings by any stretch. I just wanted to show them to you. The tracking of all the scheduled tasks is a disabled feature by default, and that's good because there are so many things that are running, it would be a full-time job to keep up with all this stuff. So we'll say, okay, and we've done it. We've got a trigger associated now with the Windows Defender. Does this task work? Well, let's try it. Let's run it. So I right click and run it. And if we go down here and we check out Windows Defender and we open it, I sure hope it's doing a scan, and it is. Look at that. Awesome. I'm going to cancel that scan, by the way, because we really didn't want to do one. But you get the idea. So we can easily manipulate the scheduled tasks from Microsoft in this powerful task scheduler. And as you might guess, you can run your own stuff. Now, that's when we really start playing with power, right? One of the things that I would like to do is I would like to make sure I clean the disk once a week. So if I go to disk cleanup, we see that there's this silent cleanup, but that's not what I want at all. This is going to, as you can see, it's used by Windows to launch a silent auto disk cleanup when running low on free disk space. That's never going to be me, and that's not what I want to do at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new task inside of this area. This task I'll call cleanup, and we are going to have a trigger on this task, and the trigger is going to be weekly. And I don't really care about the time. Let's just put anything in here. And we know there's these advanced settings that we could set. And the action that we're going to do is we are going to start a program. And the program that we're going to start is the disk cleanup app. That is in the System32 folder, I believe. Let's look for it. So we'll choose Browse here. And we'll scroll down. I believe it is called Clean or something along those lines. Let's look for it. There it is. Clean MGR. We'll say open. We'll say OK. We'll say OK again. And there is our weekly cleanup task. How awesome. Probably a good idea to right click it like we did before and run it on demand to make sure that this thing works. And there it is. This will occur for us weekly. It'll scan the disk to see how much free space we can free up and then allow us to clean the disk. So the task scheduler, not only allowing us to manipulate Microsoft stuff that's going to happen automatically, but we can add in our own frequent tasks as well. Now, there is an old command line utility, and it's called SCH Tasks. And this command line utility allows you to automate the scheduling of tasks from a command prompt. But as you might guess, Microsoft is moving away from this, and they're going, yes, of course, PowerShell. Notice there's a scheduled task feature, and we can use our verbs with it like get and start and stop. I put inside the supplemental files for you a scheduled tasks PDF that gives you the appropriate PowerShell commands that you would use to automate your scheduled tasks. So you might not have thought this nugget would be so important, but we see it really is critically important, isn't it, for giving us fine controls over what's happening with our Windows 10 system periodically. I hope you found this nugget informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.